Welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge, a show dedicated to giving automotive professionals the tools and education needed to succeed. The topics we cover are all geared towards running a better business, leading a better life, and ultimately changing the industry for, well, the better. What are we waiting for? Let's get into it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Institute's Leading Edge. We are in episode number, I believe, 88. Today with me, I've got Justin and Eric from iSCAN by Autoland. I'm very happy to have you guys on here. I went up and hung out with you in Boston a little while ago, right? That was fun. I've never been that far east, so a bit colder than I'd prefer.
We'll do it in the summertime next time.
Summertime. I'm looking forward to go there more often. I love the architecture. I think you guys caught me like taking pictures of a lot of the buildings and stuff. So,
history is pretty cool.
So those of you who are listening or watching, if you like what you hear, you learn something new, give us a like and a comment and a share so that others might benefit from what we're discussing today. We do have quite a lot to talk about with these two guys today. So let's jump into that. So first and foremost, our partnership, we're working together, aren't we, guys?
We are 100%. Excited about it as well. Basically for those of you guys that are not aware, the Institute and iSCAN by Autoland are now officially partnering up, and it's a joint kind of venture to really help our industry and our collective customers have basically a deeper toolbox at their disposal to basically run their shops more effectively. We're obviously kind of focused on the back of the shop, on the repair side, and making sure that our customers have the proper tooling, the information, the coding and programming, and the diagnostic and technical resources. But I think what often gets overlooked is the front of the shop, and interfacing with customers properly, how to run the business, how to properly write service to market to your customers. And again, we really see this as a valuable partnership with you guys to basically bring that to our customers and make sure that they really know that a business is not going to be successful unless both sides of the house are properly tooled up.
So I had a meeting with some of my facilitators this morning, and we were talking about the high level skills. So, a lot of these shop owners are master technicians. They could get in there, they could fix anything, diagnose anything. But what tends to happen is they end up bottlenecking a lot of the process. And instead of investing that time, fixing cars, they need to be investing it on what we would call high level business acumen. So stuff that actually helps the business run more effectively. And then earlier in that same discussion, we mentioned someone had said, I'm responsible for 13 families. I am the direct, pipeline for their livelihood for 13 families, and I need to manage that. Actually, I think it was a post that Brian Walker put out this morning. We were discussing that, but that's kind of why we're excited to work with iSCAN, with Justin and Eric. You guys are good people. I'm glad we made it official. We have a website, a landing page, right? The partnership. So, it's interesting. It's interesting the opportunity that we have to combine both of our resources here.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So go ahead.
No, I was going to say, and also, I think some people might look at us as kind of, we're on slightly different spectrums of the business, but I think that's also what's really good is it's combining kind of what you guys do really, really well, and some of the knowledge and expertise we have, and basic, cross collaborating, right? It's really about us sharing information. It's not about us kind of hoarding information. And that's why we're having our event in a couple months as well, is because we just know that the way technology is moving, and unfortunately with the pandemic the last couple of years, we've taken some major steps back in terms of our collective experience and technical training and getting up to speed. And we felt that this is really the right time to help you guys build more technical content for your customers, utilize some of your technologies to make that information easier to reach for our customers, and just basically, again, show everybody that, hey, we've got a really strong network of technical and management, and just we've partnered with the right people, and these people know how to be successful. And at the end of the day, what's really kind of unique is they're willing to share that, right? They're not hoarding it from themselves. When we look at our iSCAN SOD network, we've got really competent partners that help customers every day with their difficult VW problems, or their Mercedes problems, or their GM problems, or whatnot. And not to say that our shops don't know what they're doing. I mean, they're very qualified, but in this day and age, it's just impossible to stay up on everything. And sometimes even your best techs will admit that, if nothing else, they need another set of eyes or someone to bounce something off of. And that's something that we can provide for our customers. And when you need it, it's invaluable. And it really is the difference between, kind of spinning down the rabbit hole, or staying on track and keeping those jobs profitable.
It seems, more and more the things are getting faster and faster, and there's even more and even more. And, you guys, you were talking about this tooling up, right? Getting prepared for it. We often say you don't know what you don't know, and the more resources that you have at your disposal, the better, to help make better decisions. I don't know, Justin, what do you think about this? You guys, we've been talking about the SOD, or school on demand, right? And being able to get it's funny because a lot of your network is going to be related to the technicians specifically, but our business content's going to be right there. How do you think that's going to, I know we've talked about it, but I want you to elaborate on that. How do you think that's going to help some of these shop owners, or these shops out there, these automotive professionals?
Yeah. As we're talking, I'm thinking of even my own, as I'm coming up the ranks of being a technician, and I'm seeing service writers, and, I've always thought I could just sell service. It's easy. Pick up the phone, call them, and just sell them brakes and torque and clutches and stuff. And, they make it look so easy. And then I actually had the experience of doing it, but I had no, again, I was educated as a technician, but I was never educated to be a service writer. So walking into a center and getting my first service writer job, it was, it was a big wake up call. And you have to, actually speak with customers and actually convince them to sell the work. But if I had something like what the gear offers, the Institute, and someone to actually train me on what it is I'm supposed to do, I may have been a lot more successful right out of the gate. And that's, again, where the partnership comes in play. So, we have, the great ability of tooling up, and again, there's going to be different things that do better or worse for every job, right? The special tool for the special job. And, it's like the Swiss Army knife of the aftermarket. What's going to work the best for this job? So, we have several applications that I think work very well. But when you talk about what's in our back pocket, and having a partnership like with you guys, all of a sudden now we can focus on, or let you guys focus on, the front. So I really think that's a huge value add for everybody.
Yeah, instead of trying to build it all out myself, my dad used to call it a business in a box. He wanted to create a useful tool that is like a whole business in a box. You could take it and you could give it to a shop and they could run their business. It's gotten far more complicated now and more ease of access. We're not shipping a business in a box, but you've got to use what you have at your disposal. And I'm really happy we got you guys, because then we don't have to deal with the technical stuff. And you guys are vetting some really good guys. And do you think, as you were talking, I was thinking about this, what do you think the technicians should have some level of business knowledge?
Absolutely.
And why?
Right off the gate, I can think of, parts return. As a technician, it's really easy at a dealership to just take something off the counter and try it, stick it back in the box, and you don't think about the cost effect. It's waste, right? At that point, you don't realize that you just spent the company's money. Maybe that part could never be put back in another car. To be educated enough to know that, again, we talk about like critical thinking, thinking outside the box, but taking a part and just sticking it in, you don't realize that somebody had to pay for that. So yeah, having some of this business-esque knowledge of where this is going, to think a little bit ahead of that, again, where can you save?
a lot of the shops we work with, there's always like one technician every now and then who's just not happy that we're there, that we're working with the business owner. They think that they're either overcharging, like the shop owner's overcharging the customers or XYZ, and they just didn't have that full picture of how the business actually runs and operates and what the costs involved are and all that. And we end up having that conversation with them, and it really opens them up to go, wow, okay, I guess I may have been looking at this a little differently. So I'm interested to see how many technicians take advantage of some of the business content as we push it out. Obviously, they're going to be looking at the technical stuff. We got some good technical stuff coming up, right?
100%.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, no, like you said, it's if you, for the technicians that think they can do it on their own, they may be awesome master techs in a field, and then when they get on their own, they don't have any business degree to get moving, right? So yes, the doors are open. Yes, maybe there's some clients coming in, but there's, again, you're educated in the vehicle, but the bottleneck may be the business end of it.
Yeah. I'm interested to see how that all pans out. So
100%. Yeah. Well, yeah. Oh, and I think hopefully, owners and managers and whatnot, encourage their technicians. I mean, everyone in their organization to, like you say, learn about the business, become a vested partner in it. Hopefully some of these owners are looking at, how do we share profits or get everyone to buy into, hey, if we're a successful team, we're all going to, grow together. But Justin brings up a really good point. A lot of techs, I think, eventually get frustrated or see that the grass is greener and decide, I'm going to do it on my own. That's great. We want people to be entrepreneurial, but if you didn't take the time to at least pay a little bit of attention on the other side, unfortunately you could get lucky, but realistically you might have a pretty tough road ahead of you. And I think that's why, the management training is just really critical. You can't, just like you have to be tooled up in the back. I mean, you cannot be one-sided and expect to be successful in the long run. It will catch up to you if you're deficient on one or the other sides.
Yeah, some of our top shops, the guys are doing the high level stuff. They've got a lot of, they're expanding. One of them just bought 3 new shops. He's on his way to 20. And what they've been doing is rolling out these training initiatives for personal finance and teaching their team about business management and business strategy and wealth development and all this with their technicians, with their service advisors, with their and it just shows that they're really thinking on a higher level of how I can improve the team that I have and give them more opportunity to be successful, really invest in them. And so that's kind of in line with what we would like to do is we always believe in full transparency and sharing everything about the business with your team. They're invested there too, and they're putting their time in there. So yeah, I'm curious to see how it all pans out. So the event, let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about the event. Why are we hosting an event? And what are we training on?
Well, you want to take that one, Justin?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's exciting because I really do love the live session, and with obviously the COVID kind of hindering us to be able to do that, we've seen again kind of a shift of a mixture of either hybrid or online learning, which again I think it all works hand in hand. You need both. You do need a little bit of the classroom, and you do need a little bit of the live interaction, right?
Yeah, well, so things are sorry to interrupt.
No,
and cut you off, but things are shifting. We used to have nothing but in person, then we went to nothing but online, and there's pros and cons to both of those. And the way that the Institute has been looking at it, because we started doing online before COVID hit and moving into this space, is that you have to have some kind of a dynamic approach to this, and it all has to be backed by a community or a strong network of people. Professionals who are in line with your same ideals of growth and development. And so, we see this, you have to have this online and in person where you can get the social aspect and have them interconnected with this community. Like, we use our network often with our workshops. So we'll do an online training workshop. We'll follow up with our network and have discussions between the members. And then we'll meet in person and have an even more in-depth discussion, as well as the bump and elbows and actually building those relationships for the long term. You know, you've got a lot of, I hate to say it, but old guys that are moving on. They're getting to the point where they're retiring and they're transitioning. And there's a lot of younger guys like myself who only have a little bit of gray. You know, I got 3 kids, so that's why I got that. But and they're looking to build these relationships. You know, Eric, I think you mentioned having that community, right? You talked about building a strong network.
Sure. Yeah, no, I think it's really important. Again, you bring up, I think, a really good point. We've got some new mediums and technology that pass information along better now. So got to utilize that. I think it's important to, you know, kind of like what you guys are doing with the with gear, is that, you know, you're really making a lot of quality information and education available at anyone's fingertip. But I think the important thing about these events is really just that you get to meet these people, right? You build a relationship with them. I mean, I hate to say it. I'm not saying that the only reason you go to an event is so you can get a phone number or whatnot. But let's face it. I mean, let's use the analogy of why you go to college. Yes, you learn some things, but really it's kind of the relationships you make that potentially will last a lifetime and will lead into other things. So to me, technical events like we're going to be putting on, you'll get a chance to meet these high-level trainers and instructors, and most of them, if not all of them, are SOD providers, which means not only are they interested in training and bettering their industry and the aftermarket, but they're also in many cases providing some level of support to their customers. And again, and I think that's the thing is, I hear this all the time, and it's kind of a true statement that the top diagnosticians, it's not necessarily, how they were trained up or what education they had, how many years they spent at the dealer or whatnot. If you're a really good diagnostician, you're very good at getting the information and finding it efficiently, right? And it's the same thing with this. It's the more people I know, I quickly realize it's like, hey, for that answer, this is the best person for me to bounce that off of, or this is the best place to go. Even with scan tools, right? It's like, hey, I know this tool is really good in this area, and that's my go-to for that. But this other tool is great here. That kind of wisdom and expertise, once you gain that, it's invaluable. But again, getting in front of people, building your network, it just makes you stronger. And unfortunately, we are in a huge, technician shortage right now. I know all your shops and everyone out there is struggling to find and retain good talent. And we're never going to go fully remote with anything, but having more resources is going to be key, because these vehicles are getting more complex. They're branching off exponentially. And unfortunately, even the shops that invest a lot in training, we're still playing catch up. We're still kind of losing that race with technology. So the tools that are going to be able to weather the pending storms that are down the road are the ones that took the time to invest in the technologies and partner up with the resource networks and are going to be in a much better place as we move forward.
We've got some big things coming in the industry. Got EVs coming, maybe a lot stronger. I think there's still a lot of people out there who are saying, no, it's not going to come out. They announced EV 10 years ago, saying it was going to be the next thing, and that was 10 years, actually 15 years ago, and people freaked out back then. But now it's becoming a lot more of a reality. You've got mass consolidation going around. A lot of shops are getting consolidated. It's so that's why this conference. Justin, we are limiting how many people we're allowing at this conference. Why? So we talked about. This is in a juxtaposition here. We talked about growing a network and expanding and your resources, all that. And now we're saying, all right, we're restricting it to 100. Why are we doing that?
Well, I mean, the energy in that room is going to be just huge, and when we do these, live training events, or when you get into a classroom and you really have a great back and forth with, the instructors and the students and stuff, it's just nothing like it. You can feel the energy in that room. And to keep it, in that manner smaller than, a couple of thousand, it's impossible to get everything you want out of, and out of that. So I think it's really important that we'll keep it in that kind of very smaller environment, that it'll be a much better benefit for them. But
we did talk about upscaling it, and ultimately we kind of came to this idea that, look, we'd rather have a much more personal experience, a much more one-on-one, with the instructors, so that we can build those relationships there. And that's what we really want. We want some hands-on stuff. We want it to be more engaging for the members who are here, rather than blow it up to like a class of 300 people with a presenter in the front, and we just have no time to chat and talk. And so we got a lot of networking opportunities at this event.
I mean, I've done classes before, rooms of 100 or plus, and it's tough to manage that level, because there's going to be a lot of questions, and having a smaller environment, it's a lot more controllable. But you get to really see the guys and having that energy in that room. But listen, this is going to be something we do more frequently, and it's going to be a great success. It will grow, and there will be a demand for more. So we're excited.
I've already had people reaching out saying, why just in Utah? Why not over in my neck of the woods? And so we've been just on the Institute side of things, because we run workshops, and we're like, yeah, we really should. It's interesting that now people are going back to the regional stuff, because originally it was, you'd teach regionally and that was fine. And people were like, well, it's not that great. We'll just go to the big conferences. And so then it got to be, you go to the big conferences to get training. And then we had COVID, and now it's back to, hey, can we have these like in-person little, get-togethers? And so it's funny to see it all come full circle here. So let's look at this. So some of the training that we do have at the event, we're touching EV. Why are we touching EV?
It's absolutely important. And
why is it so important now?
Well,
EV has been around. Why is it so important now?
I mean, you could talk about, knowing that hydraulic systems have a wild pressure relief, that if that's leaking, you could hurt yourself, right? So high pressure is high pressure. High fuel it can still hurt you greatly. So there's always this element of safety around the car, no matter what it is that you're touching. But I also don't want to be electrocuted. This is something we should be. It's out there. It's in many cars, and to not know what you're getting involved in, just for a simple, we're talking a brake job or getting into the exhaust system. This stuff needs to be educated that there's an element of safety before you begin. But we even talk about how to register batteries. That happens with or without a hybrid electric at this point. Knowing that the car actually needs to know what type of battery it has and what the charging rate is. So we're much past just throwing parts at this car and expecting it to be the fix. The education behind it has to be hand in hand. So it's important to have that.
Let me jump in there too. I think one thing a lot of people don't realize right now is there is a big EPA in California, like CARB, other regulatory agency push.
Well, more states are adopting that, by the way.
Correct. I mean, usually the way it works is California will go first, and then eventually it'll kind of, find its way throughout the entire, US. So there's a term that maybe some people know and some people don't know. It's called CAFE standards. And really what that is the EPA miles per gallon regs and the amount of O2 emissions that the vehicles are emitting. And that's really the focus of the EPA. We can get in this long old debate about what's right, what's wrong. Is EV going to actually, cause us more emissions because we got to generate the power? I don't want to get into that right now, but the reality is it's coming, and it's coming in a very subtle way. And a lot of people don't realize it. All the new vehicles have auto start stop. They have to, because that's the only way the emission standards can be met. All the new vehicles are small displacement, turbocharged vehicles, because it's a way for them to keep their numbers low. If you drive it like grandma, guess what? You're going to get great numbers. The reality is no one's really doing that, but it's a way to basically comply and be able to sell your vehicles and get the brakes that you're looking for. Perfect example, I think one of the topics that Justin Morgan, who's with LMV Bavarian, is going to be going over is the mild hybrid that's coming into a lot of the BMWs. People may or may not know, but most of the 6 and 8 cylinder BMWs now have a 48 volt system in there that's designed to regenerate power. So when you go to brake on that vehicle, instead of the brakes being applied, it's actually going to apply load to the engine and generate electricity that's stored in the 48 volt battery. Again, all for the whole idea of reducing emissions and O2. And so this push is coming, whether, and whether we go to EV at a certain point or not. I know in California, there is a date set to go 100% EV. So it's coming. I mean, the vehicles, the legacy vehicles will still be on the road for a period of time. But again, if the technicians don't understand this now, they're going to be in trouble. As Justin pointed out, perfect example, when you replace this 48 volt battery on a BMW, it has to be unlocked or taken out of transport mode. I can physically put that battery in, hopefully I don't kill myself doing it. But guess what? It's not going to do anything until we command it through a scan tool to say, hey, you're in this car now, you're ready to go, and you're basically unlocked. And I think it's really important that technicians understand how these systems work. So one, they don't hurt themselves. And two, they just, know what they're doing, basically. These are expensive components, and you don't want to misdiagnose on this side either.
Yeah. And, you should be prepared to be able to take advantage of that opportunity as well. If the shop across from you is doing EV and you're not, well, you're going to miss out on that market. And it's a growing market. You've got Tesla, they led the charge with this whole thing, but you've got a lot of other companies that are coming out with all electric vehicles. That's going to be hitting the market real soon. And more and more people are going to buy those. And it's interesting how we're still seeing a lot of the nuances with COVID and hitting our industry and everyone else as well. But, I was talking to a friend who worked at he works at a big chain dealership, and they were actually enjoying the fact that they don't have to hold so much stock. And they're like talking about maybe we keep our reserves low as far as new cars and what we're selling. So it's going to be interesting these next 5-10 years. It's going to be weird.
Yeah. I was going to mention that even the dealer network is, still preparing, and they're still changing and learning. But from my understanding, New York State is trying to approve no electric vehicle will be sold at a dealer level. It'll all be direct sales. So that right there changes a number of different things on how vehicles are sold.
And another one of my friends, he works for a salvage title company. They, fix up these new cars, and they actually just got approval to be doing Teslas. And so they're actually getting Teslas up on the road, and instead of selling them for, 120,000, they're able to sell them for like 35,000, right? Regular car standards. So you've got a lot of people who are going to end up buying those vehicles and having that out on the road as well.
Right. Yeah. There's the second and third owners that, we have, we're just, scratching the surface with a lot of this stuff.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, one thing to keep in mind about that too, what maybe a lot of people realize or don't realize is if these OEMs, get away from the dealership network, what's going to happen to service? A dealership is not going to necessarily just keep service open if they can't sell cars. So again, it's kind of interesting, even though we feel like a lot of times the OEMs are attacking the aftermarket. As time goes on, again, look at what Tesla just recently did. They finally opened up because I personally believe they had such a backlog that it hit critical.
They couldn't do the work. They couldn't do the work.
Yeah, exactly. Look, even the dealership network right now. I mean, I think, one thing I want everyone to kind of, hopefully they understand is, we are a defense. The aftermarket is a little defensive, right? When the markets are down and people aren't buying new cars, we generally tend to do a little bit better. And I think what you're finding right now is the way that the new vehicle prices are going, the inventory levels, it's a seller's market. Plenty of dealerships have been accused of putting huge packs on cars. And I think, the general sentiment now is going back to, hey, we're going to keep these cars on the road. And luckily we don't have cash for clunkers again, like we did 10 years ago, which took a lot of good cars off the market that would have gone to our independent shops. The other thing too is, versus 10 years ago, factory service is not nearly as prevalent as it used to be. I think these days you're lucky if you get one free oil change, which means a lot of very new cars are going to the aftermarket right away. I used to always get that argument from my shops that, oh, I don't need to update my scan tool because I don't work on anything in the last 4 or 5 years. Okay, maybe that was true 10 years ago, but these days, I know plenty of people that they buy a car from the dealer and they go to their independent shop for their first service. So you got to be tooled up. You got to have the knowledge, the expertise, and the resources to fix these cars. And again, the dealerships are way behind. I mean, they really need the aftermarket to help with these vehicles, because you bring a 20-year-old car to the dealership. I mean, I guarantee you nobody has any expertise there on that car, even though it's their logo and their marquee. That knowledge base is gone now, and they need us to fix those vehicles.
Yep. I was going to mention something, or just take a step back. You mentioned why hybrid in our classes and stuff. So, I mean, think about if you were Ford technicians or Asian domestic technicians, and you say, well, I don't want to work on European cars because that technology is too advanced. And all of a sudden you realize that technology is going to be in the Fords and the Chevys, and it's there and it's now. And we're doing the exact same thing for the shops that say, I don't want to work on the hybrid electric vehicles. I'm not going to see them. And it's just not going to be true, because it's going to be there on every single manufacturer now.
Yeah. And that's kind of the discussions we've had, and why again, we're partnering and trying to get some of this education out more to more people. Because I've got a lot of my shops that we work with that are asking for this stuff. And so we've got a couple people that are going to be training at our event, right?
Safe.
I know you mentioned Justin Morgan, right? We've got Craig Shippey.
Yep.
Volkswagen Audi.
Yeah, Volkswagen Audi superstar. Yep. Yeah. For the people that know him, he's a huge asset. He's been training the factory Otis system for a number of years now. He's been on the dealer side for, I believe, all of the VAG group lines, including Lamborghini and Bentley. And he's one of those guys that provides support on demand services via iSCAN. And he's just one of those unique guys that when you work with him, he just has that kind of really rare ability to help you, to train you, to not make you feel stupid. You know what I'm saying? And
that would be nice for me.
Yeah. And shoot it to you straight. Right. And again, and he's just really good at you give him a problem and he will solve that problem in a very efficient manner. And I think people really appreciate it. And my hope at the end of the day is everyone who gets to interface with someone like Craig learns. You know what I'm saying? That at least a little bit rubs off, and they can learn from that.
We have some more specialized stuff. Tony Callis is going to be teaching on Porsche. So maybe some shops out there are going to go, well, that might not be of value to me because I don't work on Porsche. But a lot of the classes we have going on are more general. They're more for most shops, not just these specialized areas. We were talking about that earlier about was it Marty
Velosi?
Marty Velosi. We were talking about his class and why it's not specialized there. It's really more of a general class for any technician to be taking.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Ken, we still have some shops that do specialize, but again, I think if you really, really got to the core, truth out of shop owners these days, they may say that, hey, I'm a BMW specialist or I'm a whatever specialist, but the reality is, I think we all know in this day and age that good customers are hard to come by. Once you service a good customer, chances are they don't have 3 BMWs anymore. If we turn the clock back 20 years ago, people were very brands. You were the Ford guy, I'm the Chevy guy. Justin's the Chrysler guy, and that's what we had in our garage. Now, I'm not surprised when I see an Asian vehicle, a domestic vehicle, and a European vehicle in someone's driveway. So I think it's really important not to close doors, to be more focused on the customer than the actual vehicle, but also know that if you take that vehicle in, you've got the resources to fix it properly and make money along the way.
Yeah. So this podcast is not necessarily supposed to be a big commercial, but it kind of is a little bit. We're excited about this conference. I'll take a short actual commercial break and just talk about it. If you guys want to take a look and find more information about this specific conference, the iSCAN Technical Training Conference, which the Institute is very happy to be hosting. We're really excited to be doing this with you guys. Can go to wearetheinstitute.com/iSCAN-conference to check out more information and register your seats, because we're actually halfway full at this point and we're limited on our seating. And it's going to be happening, I believe it's in May, right? May 13th through the 15th. That's right. Hey, I remembered. I didn't have to look it up. So yeah, it's closing up pretty quick. If you guys want to secure your seats, we have group seats. We also have individual seats as well. So make sure to take advantage of that at wearetheinstitute.com/iSCAN-conference. So the last part of this podcast that I want to talk about, you guys work with technicians a lot, like a lot. And every day. And I wanted to kind of get into what you're seeing with your technicians. What are some common things that are out there that maybe more shop owners should be aware of, that you've been noticing with the techs that you've been working with?
Yeah, so
you're smiling.
I'll jump on that one. So, I mean, look, we have a great customer base, and a lot of them are, we go back to, they're specialists, right? So a lot of them know exactly what it is that they're asked for. But, we have seen a shift, and some of the older guys are getting, moving away from it or retiring. So I'm seeing a lot of, some of the younger guys come back up, and, they need some help. They need some critical thinking abilities. We're in a world of instant gratification and YouTube and, being able to just search on your phone and hope you get a hit, and maybe it's right and maybe it's not right. But we need to be able to find the direction and find the course of action and learn how to test to get the answer. So I guess I'd say we're seeing a lot of maybe a little too quick to throw a part in or find out that once the part's in there, I'm not sure what to do with it. But we're guiding these guys, and I spend time and train even on the phone to discuss, why did you get that point? To that point, how did you get there? So we do want to start a lot of basics. We always talk about the basics, but it's not just that. It really is the critical thinking that will take place, to think outside the box. How did we get there, and where do we want to go from this point forward?
Well, I mean, like that's a good skill. That's a basic skill that you should have. And I know that us millennials aren't too good on the critical thinking, although I think I'm going to, crucify myself on that comment. But, we can just Google it and get an answer. And if that doesn't work, we Google and try another answer. It's not, hey, we could probably figure it out ourselves and rely on that. And you've got all this experience that's retiring. Yeah. And so I think that is a pivotal thing. A lot of our shops that are on the higher end are thinking about technical training internally, and how they're getting basic technical knowledge to their techs as they come on and onboard them when they hire them, and what does it look like, and what resources can we provide for them. And I think the shops that are doing the best right now are the ones who are thinking about, how do I train up my people with basic technical knowledge.
True. I mean, and you're absolutely right. The guys that are the most successful in this, they are involved in training, and we see them often, right? So we see them not just once, we've met them, but they're reoccurring customers that are at different places and different, online or in live events. I think I was going to mention that back to the front end, when these guys go and actually diagnose a car and say, well, I figured it out, training is not really what I need, because we'll figure it out. That goes back to what happens in the front end and the money you're saving. Of course, if it takes 2 to 3 hours because you figured it out, that's fantastic. That is still
Hopefully you
a
build
life
for
lesson. It's a life lesson you have to learn, right? It's going to take me this much time to fix this vehicle. And I'm not saying that there's going to be any real shortcuts, but to have a support system or having training or know who you can call in your network to find that answer, that's invaluable. And you still will learn that. You will still learn that skill, right?
You've got the tech shortage it hasn't gone away. It's been here for a while. It's just been exacerbated by COVID and with what's going on there. And, in a lot of our shops, we see a big difference. We've got a 20-year age gap between most of the technicians in our shops. You've got some guy who's in his 50s and you've got a guy who's my age. And there's a lot of experience and competency that's not there. And I think that shops out there, think about your technicians. Do you have that big age gap? Because you're probably going to be suffering from the same issue of that. This new person does not have the same levels of competency as this person who's got 30, 40 years of experience. And how can I start training and accommodating to that so that they can be successful? That's one of the biggest issues with the hiring problem, with the technician problem, is that shops are not preparing their technicians for success. They're still just hoping they can hire a guy, have him wheel in his toolbox and get to work on cars. But you have to train them. You have to give them some level of confidence.
It's an investment.
It's an investment.
Yeah. I mean, look, when you get hired, forget about our industry for a second, but any job you technically get hired for, you come at a cost. And what's the cost? You have to have a phone, you have to have a laptop, you have to have a desk, you have to have equipment. And that is already at a negative when you get hired. And it's very similar. And the other side of it on the technicians, you get hired as, well, the technician pays for the tools, the technician pays for his education. And then it's backwards. We need to change the culture. We always talk about how do we get more people into our business? I mean, I was hired my first day. The guys that were going to train me said, turn around. You should go find something else to do. This industry is terrible.
Don't come
I said,
here.
no, I like cars. I love cars. This is going to be great. I'm ready. And they're like, okay. But you see these guys and they change and there's a shift, right? Young guys are really fast. We can do things really quick. And as you start getting a little older and your body breaks down and you've gone through training and you get more education and understand what it's going to take. Well, you get less of those service works. Now you're getting the harder stuff. So you got to struggle even harder to make more money, and then there's the race against time. You are always at a loss. We were always flat rate or how to pay the technician. So there's so many different variables that we all need to learn. But
one of the biggest things is getting a clear path for your employees to be successful. And that could be for a service advisor, it could be for, management, it could be for your technicians, right? As you hire them on, they should have a clear path of how they can grow, develop, and when I talk to my shops, it's always, how are we creating a career for them? I always want to be hiring for a career, not for a job. And I talk to my employees or my new hires or my prospectives as what does the career path look like for you with my company? And that puts it in a completely different mindset. This is how I'm going to train you. This is the tools I'm going to provide for you. This is the commitment that I'm going to invest in you to show you that I want you to stay here. Because we've got a tech shortage out there. I guarantee there's another shop down the street that's willing to hire that guy. So how are you setting yourself apart to show them that you've got the resources and the investment that you can make in them to show them that you actually care? Sorry, I got on a pedestal there for a minute.
No.
But you see me step up on my soapbox.
But you're so right. Because I mean, let's put ourselves in anyone's shoes, right? If I go into an organization and they're organized and they've got a career kind of enrichment path or growth path, I'm already going to feel way more confident in management leadership there. And hopefully it will attract the people that do want to get better, right? I mean, that is kind of I hate to say it, but when your bill rate's really high on the wall, let's face it, it serves a couple purposes, because it will kind of scare away the people that, their main focus is, hey, I want to grind you down $2. I don't care how good of a job you do or what kind of parts you throw in my car. I'm looking at it from that standpoint. So again, it's sometimes it's scary and definitely requires some effort and some good coaching to be able to do what you're talking about. But that really is, I think, a key difference between companies that are successful and the ones that are not.
So I was actually out in Boston again. I was at a group meeting, and I had a pipe burst in my basement. Right, my wife, hey, the house is flooding. I was actually on a flight back when it happened, and she ended up calling a plumber. Came out. It was like the outside spigot had cracked and was leaking in, and so they came in. It took them 5 minutes, literally 5 minutes. I said, "This is, this is where the flood is. This is where we saw the water coming in." It took them 5-10 minutes. They changed the pipe and said, "All right, here you go." It was like $450 bill, and I'm like, how many tools did he bring in? We hit this conversation all the time, but every now and then when I work with a different service industry, I'm like, wow, they're charging what they're worth, right? They came in, they knew what they needed to do, they did it, they fixed my problem, and they charged me adequately for it so that they were making a profit. And that's like, it's like rule number one. You should be in business for profit, not business to scrape by. You shouldn't have to be paying to service people. They should pay you for your service. It's that turnaround. And when you're trying to hire prospective technicians who want a career, who want a place that they can call home, that they know they can grow and will take care of their livelihood, and service the lives that they want to live, they're going to look for people who know what their worth is. And again, you were talking about the sticker price, right? Oh, the prices are fairly high. Well, I know that the clientele that I'm likely to be working with this shop knows the value of what I do. And I think more and more young people are putting their foot down and saying, I don't want to be that 55-year-old tech or 60-year-old or 65-year-old tech who's still grinding away because I didn't make enough off of my trade, off of my skill, off of the tools I invested in, off of all of that. That doesn't look attractive to me. So either they're going to find a shop who's going to support it, or they're going to go pick another trade industry that they can invest their time and energy into. Yeah. Sorry, I got on the soapbox again. I'm really
right. But Kent, you're right. And again, and that's why we go back full circle to why running the business and strategizing and pricing yourself appropriately is so important. I mean, look, I don't want to knock our own industry, but the reality is, because I think in general, the barriers to entry has been pretty low to open up an independent shop. You've had a lot of people come in that didn't have the skill set. It's not their fault. It's just that, unfortunately, they never got that training. They never either saw that it was going to be valuable for them. And now there's kind of this wide divide, so to speak, between, you've got some shops and operators that are doing really well. And then you've got
it's like taking a totally green tech who's never even taken apart an engine and having them work on an EV and saying, here you go, figure it out. They might be able to work on it for a little while.
Hopefully they know orange is a no-go in terms of touching. Right.
And right. And so you think about, you switch that, you transverse that, and it's like, well, you've never run a business before. You don't know how to run a business. So here you go. Good luck. See how that goes. You might float it for a little while, but
it's the same as being a manager, right? If you jump into a management role and you've never been a manager, chances are your first time, you might fail.
Different skill set.
You're going
to piss off a lot of your employees, and
you definitely have to be a bad manager before you can become a good manager, right? Same thing again. Look, Justin, first time you get that one, big job, maybe book times 5 hours. I mean, you're going to be lucky if you do that in 10 hours, right? But the second time you get better, third, by the 10th time, maybe you're doing it in 2 hours. So again, but that's the thing, is that's the experience, and that's what you have to put into everything you do, right? I mean, you have to put some blood, sweat, and tears into it.
So those of you who are listening and watching, if you had questions, I'm hoping we're answering them in the comments down below. I know I forgot to mention that at the beginning of this. I want to get into final thoughts because we're about at that time, and then we'll wrap this up. If you do have questions, please post them down there, and we'll get them answered even after the podcast. So Eric, any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
Just going back to, again, we're really excited. Again, iSCAN, we've been around a long time, and we've always been kind of the small guys out there. We've got some big behemoths in the scan tool world, but we pride ourselves on having a good team and partnering with good organizations and people like yourself, and who we have a common goal. We really are here to help our customers. That's it. We work for our customers, plain and simple. And I think that's sometimes lost in certain places. And we don't have magic wands, but what we're really good at is helping them when they have trouble or they really need the help. And that's why this partnership is so important. And that's why this event, I think, is so important. I mean, we have not had a European kind of focused true conference in a number of years. And those cars are only growing, right? There's more BMWs, there's more Mercedes, there's more whatever on the roads these days, and they got to get serviced, and people need to be trained. And we're hoping that the people that come will really see that this is, this is a immense value to them, to make the connections, to get caught up on some new topics and the EV technology that we're moving into, and even some core topics. I mean, Justin brings up, Justin and I have been doing this a long time, and sometimes we'll hear some topics that we've known about for 15 years, but there's a lot of techs that only came into the trade 2 or 3 years ago, right? We can't expect them to know that. And we have to take the time to not kind of belittle them, but basically say, hey, look, we can't grow until we have the foundation built. And that's what we really want to do, is we want to touch upon all those important areas and continue to do more technical training, more events in the future, and really try to give back to our industry and grow with it.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
Justin.
Final thoughts,
man.
All right, man. So I was going to say that, we kind of live in a world of instant gratification at this point. So we all want something now. We got to be able to get the answer we need as fast as possible. Search for it on the internet. But right now, we kind of cater to that type of an audience. So you guys deal with training, and if you need training, you can get it. You can get it the way you want it. You can watch it in different platforms. But we're giving the ability to say we have multiple avenues to get that. And very similar to what iSCAN's SOD network is, it's service or support on demand. It's software, it's technology, and it's the ability to service our customers, how they need it and when they need those answers. So, this partnership that we have is, in my opinion, it's fantastic, and we couldn't be more excited to be a part of it. So thank you for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you guys. It's been really nice to work with such a good group of guys, people who actually care about this industry and care about the shop owners. I mean, that's why I'm doing this. That's why the Institute's here, is we're trying to help shop owners. On a personal note, my grandfather was a shop owner, my dad as well. And, it's just, there's a lot of pain out there that I feel that we can avert as long as we can intervene and give them some training that they need to put themselves in a better position. Excuse me. Of course, I start getting all choked up at the end of this, start coughing a bunch.
It's passion.
It's passion. It's too much. It's welling up. It's overflowing. No, I'm really excited about this. This partnership is going to allow us to get more training out to more people. A lot easier, a lot more convenient. And again, you're saying, Justin, open up those avenues. So if you're listening to this and you're interested in the conference we have coming up, the iSCAN Technical Training Conference, you guys can visit wearetheinstitute.com/iSCAN-conference and register for that, or just take a look. And if you want to talk to me, you can message me through our website, and I'll talk to you about the conference. And we've got a lot of new training, a lot of cool new stuff that's going to be coming out this year. Very excited for 2022. And again, Justin, Eric, thank you guys so much for coming on the podcast and doing an episode with me. Hopefully the listeners, this wasn't too much of a commercial and more of a call to action to get the resources you need to have a successful shop. Because that's all we really want, is that you guys have the ability to take care of yourself, your family, and the families that you're in charge of. And with that, we're going to end it out, and we'll see you guys in episode 89. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Cam. Thanks, everyone.
That's it for this one. This episode was brought to you by GearForShops.com, the Gearheads Network, and the Institute. For a better business, a better life, and a better industry, visit WeAreTheInstitute.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next one.